So I did not want to make a video of swapping out the actual air filter here, but it looks like I'm going to be taking this off again. I want to do an external breather on this bike. Been doing a lot of research on it, and they say that it will drastically improve the quality of your pistons. So what Harley did was they designed this to be a EPA efficient bike, so they didn't get in trouble with the EPA. So they routed the hot oil that comes out of your breather bolts back here, routed the oil mist right back into your air intake, and it burns again into the engine itself. But what that does is it's going to put oil deposits onto the head of your piston, and after time that's not good. It steals a lot of power from the bike. So we'll start this by removing this here. Now we're going to remove the housing itself. So now this is that K&N air filter that I put on. Showed you guys that where I was throwing some oil on it. Set that aside here. This is the old one. See how it's white. It's got weird spots on it and stuff. It's absolutely filthy. And this bike only has 2,000 miles on it, so get rid of this, throw it away, do yourself a favor, upgrade into a reusable, washable one. All right, so now you can clearly see how they routed this. This is just a hose that's attached right here to these breather points. I'll take this one off for you. So this bolt right here has a breather. All the hot air oil mix comes out. It's like an oil moisture that comes out that's, you know, from lubricating the inside of your heads here. And Harley cleverly designed this to be the most efficient way, cheapest way for them as well, to get past EPA, because they don't want this breathing out into the atmosphere. But in turn, what that's doing is it's going right into your air intake, right back into your throttle body, and is mixing with fuel and air and burning into your engine, leaving a nice layer on top of your pistons, and that's not good. So we're taking these off. All right, so essentially what I'm going to do is I got some 1/4-inch hose here. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this 1/4-inch hose on here, and I am going to route it around inside here. I want to drill one hole, run one hole running back out through here. I'm going to route a filter down and out probably this front over here, and then that way any oil that comes out of here is going to be sucked through these tubes. It's going to go down and out at the bottom. There's not going to be a lot. That's why I'm using a filter instead of a catch can. Lots of people like to use the catch can just because of the appearance it gives. I would rather use the filter. I'm using a $10 Briggs & Stratton filter. It's a fuel filter. That way this thing, every time I do an oil change, I will be able to just pull that off, throw it in the trash, go buy another one for $10, pop it on, and good to go. I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but you could see all the oil that was being just blown right back in here. So, I mean, you really don't want that. It's never a good thing to have that oil going right back into your engine like that. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. I mean, that's definitely not good. Why have an air filter on here if you're going to be throwing oil right back into this thing? So I'm trying to figure where the best spot's going to be. I think it's going to be right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this paper towel, I'll wedge it in here. That way no particles of anything get in there. Because I'm going to drill this hole out here. So I want to make sure that when I do that, I'm not getting any pieces of metal back into the engine. I might actually drill this out, run these both out of there. Let me see what happens here. Do a little bit of trial and error. You don't want to push hard on this. This is soft aluminum. You push too hard, you're going to have way too big of a hole put in here, or you're going to go into your fins. Most people take this whole thing off to do this process. You don't need to. So I'm not going to. Just take your time when you're doing this and make sure you're getting everything perfect. All right, so skipped a little bit there, didn't want to bore you guys. Drilled this out a little bit larger, ended up going with a, what size is this? 17/32. And the grommet now sits in there perfectly. So now I'm going to try to wrestle in this hose once I get this all seated in here good and tight. I'll wrestle this hose in through here, and then we'll work on our routing options here going forward. All right, so after a little bit of deliberation here, because that hose was just a little bit too thick to get through here, and I didn't want to make that hole any longer. So what I did was I ran a different hose through. This hose just has to go down to the tee. Once I tee it off, I could run out the other rubber hose, which may be touching anything hot. This isn't going to be touching anything hot at all on the engine. This will be fine for our application. So we're going to go ahead and use this fuel line here. All right, I like it. I'm gonna put a little bit of RTV, black RTV silicone on here, just to plug up any little gaps that may be in there, because that's the last thing I want is any airflow gaps. All right, a little bit of black RTV silicone, and we'll get this buttoned up. Get the bike cleaned off, and there you go. There's your external breather, do it yourself. You could always buy the kits online if you prefer, but I'm doing it this way. All right, I'll let that dry. All right, so now we just put everything back together. I think this looks pretty good. I may adjust where I have this hose routing to in the future. Not sure. I'm going to see how this works, and just like everything else, it's always a work in progress till you find something better, find a different way to do it. So we'll button this back up here. Make sure everything sits good in here. Make sure you use Loctite on this stuff, you guys. Everything looks good. You do not have to crank these things down. Just enough. And then you want to clean up your cover here, shine it up real nice so everybody sees that 114 on it, and as you're swinging a big hammer, right? Big hammer swinging, 114.